The morning sun filtered through the tinted windows of Okizi Tower, casting golden slivers of light across the sleek marble lobby. Adaora adjusted her crisp white blouse and smoothed back her dark hair before stepping onto the glossy floor. The hum of the revolving door sounded like a heartbeat, welcoming her and the other employees into another day under Chief Okizi's reign. She paused at the reception desk, where a small vase of white lilies sat, their scent faint but hopeful. With practiced grace, she retrieved the day's mail and arranged it in neat piles. "Good morning, Miss Adaora," greeted Mr. Anabias, the austere security chief, as he passed beneath the iron archway. "Good morning, sir," she replied, offering her usual polite smile. Her eyes flicked to the elevator banks, with the doors parted to reveal impeccably dressed executives. Each one moved like a shark gliding through glass water, confident and cautious of every corner. At precisely 8:15 a.m., the intercom crackled. "Adaora, your first delivery for Chief Okizi's office," said the voice of Madame Ifyananya, the stern head of administration. Adaora slipped between rows of leather chairs in the waiting lounge and entered the CEO's private suite, heart unobtrusively fluttering as the heavy door shut behind her. "More files, Miss Adaora." Chief Okizi's deep voice rumbled without turning. He sat behind an imposing mahogany desk, fingers steepled, eyes cold as obsidian. "Yes, sir," she said, placing the thick dossier labeled confidential, Project Midnight before him. He flicked through a few pages. "Excellent," he murmured, and his lips curved into a faint, predatory smile. "Don't be late with the afternoon summary." She offered a curt nod and retreated, her pulse steadying as the door locked behind her. Downstairs, the lobby clock chimed 9. Adaora exhaled. So far, so normal. At her desk, nestled among orchids and photo frames of her brother Hugo's proud graduation smile, Adaora sifted incoming emails. One subject line caught her eye: late-night access request. She frowned. It was addressed to Ifyananya, not her. She hesitated, finger poised over the mouse. But then self-doubt reminded her, not your business. With a reluctant sigh, she closed the tab and focused on scheduling meeting reminders. Lunch hour arrived with its ritual flurry. The cafeteria buzzed in low, anxious murmurs. "Did you see the lights in the CEO's office last night?" whispered Nkechi from finance. 3 a.m., and his door was locked tight. Adaora shrugged. Probably just extra work. She forced a laugh as Detective Muni's gaze drifted past her, notebook in hand. The young officer visited monthly, asking about security footage or employee disputes. So far, there had been nothing to report. As the day wound down, Adaora gathered her files for the final delivery. The sun was dipping when the intercom chimed again. "Adaora, send everything to Chief Okizi's suite tonight, and bring the new ledger copies." Her stomach tightened. Working past dark was rare and unwelcome. She swallowed. "Yes, madam." The elevator ride felt like an endless drop, stomach twisting. When she stepped into the corridor, the lights were dimmed. Shadows pooled in the corners. Approaching the door, she caught movement behind the frosted glass, a tall silhouette placing something in the hidden safe. She blinked and realized this was more than files. Her breath caught. She knocked lightly. The figure froze. Then the door clicked open. "Miss Adaora?" Chief Okizi's voice was low, amused. "What are you doing here so late?" Her cheeks burned. "Just delivering, sir." She handed over the ledgers. As she turned to leave, her eyes flicked one last time to the safe's contents. Stacks of passports, bundles of cash. Her heart hammered. Something dark was buried here, and she'd seen it all. The next morning, the taste of fear lingered in Adaora's mouth, like bitter coffee. Every step through the lobby felt heavier, as though the marble floor itself sought to anchor her in place. She arrived early, arranging the lilies at her desk with trembling fingers. Hugo's graduation photo looked back at her, a beacon of normalcy in the storm she felt brewing. Madame Iphigenia appeared by her side. "Everything all right?" the older woman asked softly, her eyes uncharacteristically concerned. Adaora forced a confident smile. "Yes, ma'am. Just tired." Iphigenia nodded, but Adaora saw the worry lines crease her forehead. The head of administration rarely expressed emotion. Something was off. Mid-morning, the mail trolley rattled past. Adaora wheeled it toward the finance department, mind drifting to the image of the hidden safe. She felt drawn back to the locked door, as if the building itself pulled her in. Turning the corner, she realized with a start that she'd taken the wrong corridor. Instead of floor 35, she was on floor 34, an area strictly off-limits to receptionists. Yet the door ahead of her stood, slightly ajar. Curiosity pricked at her. She glanced left and right, empty hallway. Heart pounding, she edged closer and slipped inside. The room was dim, illuminated by the glow of a single desk lamp. Stacks of black binders lined the walls, each embossed with the Okizi Corporation seal. On the desk lay a codex of ledgers, open to pages of numbers and currency conversions. Adaora froze as footsteps echoed outside. She backed toward the door, but her heel caught on the carpet. She stumbled, sending a binder crashing to the floor. Pages fanned like startled birds. A voice boomed, "What the?" She whirled. Chief Okizi filled the doorway, eyes blazing. Behind him, 2 security officers joined, expressions unreadable. Adaora stammered. "I'm so sorry, sir. I thought this was—" He advanced, calm fury radiating in waves. "You thought this was your office?" He gestured to the ledgers. "Tell me honestly what you saw." She swallowed. "I saw these ledgers. And the passports." And her voice quavered. "I wasn't supposed to be here." He studied her for a long beat. Then he laughed, low and chilling. "Curiosity can get you killed, Miss Adaora. Be grateful I'm in a forgiving mood." He waved a hand. "Get out." His security officers shooed her into the hallway. She ran, breath ragged, not daring to look back until the stairwell door slammed behind her. Trembling, she descended 3 flights of stairs to the basement exit. Once outside, she sank against the cold stone wall, hands pressed to her pounding heart. What had she stumbled into? And what would Chief Okizi do now that she knew? The next morning, Adaora barely made it to her desk before her phone buzzed. A private number. A text read, "Forget what you saw. Mind your place." Her blood ran cold. She deleted the message and shoved the phone into her bag, trying to appear calm when Security Chief Anabias walked by. "You all right today?" he asked, tone neutral. She forced a nod. "Yes, sir." He hesitated, then said quietly, "Be careful." He strode away, leaving her more unsettled. The usual clatter of keyboards felt sinister now. At lunch, she sought out Mama Adiz, the cleaning woman who had once casually remarked about knowing too much. In the service elevator, the older woman's eyes were distant as she mopped the floor. "Morning, Mama Adiz," Adaora ventured. The cleaner paused, gaze sharpening. "Miss Adaora," she said softly, "you broke the rule." Adaora's stomach twisted. "I did. I'm sorry." "You saw things no one should," Mama Adiz continued, voice barely a whisper. "Chief Okizi doesn't forgive indiscretion. You must drop it. Walk away." She shook her head. "I tried to warn him once, long ago. I had a daughter who paid the price." Adaora's breath caught. "Your daughter?" The woman's eyes darkened. She spoke out. "They made it look like an accident. I never saw her again." Tears glistened in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "What should I do?" Mama Adiz placed a gnarled hand on Adaora's arm. "Be invisible, or become the next. Promise me." Adaora hesitated, torn between gratitude and dread. "I promise," she whispered, but her heart thundered. How could she promise to ignore the truth? That night, Adaora tossed and turned, haunted by Mama Adi's warning. By morning, she made a decision. She would gather proof. If her life was at risk, she needed an ally. At breakfast, she called Hugo. "I need your help," she said. "Something's happening at the office. Ledgers, passports, illegal deals." I saw it. Hugo's voice went tense. "Don't do anything reckless. Meet me tonight." She agreed, heart pounding. The workday dragged. Adaora moved through her tasks like a ghost, eyes scanning every security guard, every locked door. More late-night visitors arrived at the CEO's office. Sleek black SUVs, well-heeled men speaking in hushed tones. Adaora jotted license plate numbers on a scrap of paper, her pulse quickening. After 8 p.m., she feigned an urgent file delivery and slipped into the suite once more. The door was unlocked. She peered inside. Empty, save for the hidden safe, now ajar, its contents undisturbed. Had someone removed evidence? Her breath hitched. She heard a soft click behind her. Flashlight beams stabbed the darkness. "Drop the file," growled the security chief. Adaora froze. "I'm just—" "Drop it," he repeated, advancing. She obeyed, stepping backward. Her heel caught again, and she tumbled backward, legs flailing. The world tilted as she plunged through the balcony doors, the night sky shattering above her. Time slowed on the descent. The marble balcony railing blurred as she flew over it, arms outstretched. A strangled scream escaped her lips, swallowed by the night air. She landed on a patch of soft grass in the courtyard, 20 feet below. Pain exploded through her leg, then her side. Stars flickered at the edges of her vision. Footsteps thundered on the balcony. Chief Okizi's voice. She slipped? Impossible. Security officers swarmed the railing. "Did you see anything?" one demanded. "No," another whispered. She must have lost her footing. Chief Okizi's voice was cold, clinical. "Take her away. No one is to know." They surrounded Adaora. She curled into a ball. Tears mingled with blood on her cheek. A hand gripped her wrist. "Miss Adaora, I'm Detective Muna." The young officer's face loomed above, concern in her eyes. "Help is coming." Adaora tried to speak, pain roaring in her chest. "He pushed me." Detective Muna frowned. "Hold on," she said into her radio. "I need medical. And I need every camera feed from this building." As the courtyard spiraled into chaos, security officers arguing with uniformed police, Adaora slipped into unconsciousness. Later, waking in a sterile hospital room, pain medication dulling her agony, Adaora saw Detective Muna's determined expression across the bedside. "You're lucky to be alive," the detective said softly. "But lucky doesn't clear Chief Okizi. We're investigating." Adaora's pulse quickened. What I saw." The detective nodded. "Tell me everything from the beginning. No detail is too small." Adaora exhaled, bracing herself. The real story was only beginning. Adaora's first conscious moments were disorienting. Bright fluorescent lights, the beeping of monitors, and a cool touch on her forehead. She tried to move. A sharp pain lanced through her side. Panic fluttered. But Detective Muna's calm voice cut through the haze. "Easy, Ms. Adaora. You've been through a lot." Muna sat at the foot of her bed, tablet in hand. "You're in Lagos Central Hospital. You fell 20 feet. Adaora's throat felt raw. "I fell." Her voice trembled. She recalled the balcony, the flash of cold night air, then darkness. "He pushed me." Muna's gaze was steady. "Chief Okizi Security says you slipped, but I believe you." She tapped her tablet. CT scan shows a fractured pelvis and a concussion, but by some miracle, no internal bleeding. Tears sprang to Adaora's eyes. not only at her survival, but at Muna's conviction. Why am I alive? Muna smiled gently. Call it fate, or stubbornness. She handed Adaora a small recorder. Anything you remember, speak into this. It might help you in our case. As the detective left, Adaora stared at the ceiling, the weight of what lay ahead settling in. She had a second chance, and she intended to use it. Word of Adaora's accident spread through Okizi Tower like wildfire. By day 3, she received encrypted messages on her hospital phone. You're not alone. We know. Be strong. Late that evening, Yugo slipped into her room, laptop under one arm. His dark eyes were bloodshot from sleepless nights. They contacted me too. A few ex-employees, all too afraid to go public. They say Chief Okizi runs a human trafficking ring, forced labor, fake identities, offshore accounts. Adaora's heart pounded. Offshore accounts? That matches the passports I saw. Yugo nodded. Look at this. He opened a folder of redacted testimonies, accounts from janitors, temp staff, even a one-time intern. All spoke of disappearance after they asked too many questions. Is this real? Adaora whispered, glancing at the lineup of hidden camera stills Yugo had snatched. A security guard shoving a man into a black SUV. Chains. Faces twisted in fear. Yugo closed his laptop. We need proof. Something irrefutable. He squeezed her hand. But you're not alone. We'll expose him. Detective Muna strode into Adaora's hospital room the next morning with an envelope thick enough to weigh down her resolve. Inside were official subpoenas, security logs from the tower, traffic camera footage, and a warrant to seize Chief Okizi's hidden safe contents. Good morning, Muna said, her usual warmth replaced by steel. I got the warrant approved. I'll have the safe open tonight. Adaora sat up, wincing. You're really doing this? Muna pulled up a chair. I believe in justice. And I believe in you. She tapped her pen. But I need your testimony recorded. You remember what happened before the fall. Every detail counts. Adaora's jaw clenched. I was delivering ledgers. I saw passports, bundles of cash. Then he confronted me. She paused, swallowing past the lump in her throat. He said, curiosity can get you killed. Muna nodded, rapidly typing. That's enough for an attempted murder charge. Now, can you describe his demeanor? His words verbatim. Adaora closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and began to speak, this time with the knowledge that her voice might bring a predator to justice. That evening, Yugo joined Muna and Adaora in a dimly lit conference room at the precinct. He plugged a small flash drive into the detective's laptop. I decrypted the files you gave me. These ledgers track millions in unrecorded transfers to shell companies to off-the-books accounts in Dubai. Muna leaned in as rows of figures and names scrolled on screen. Look here, Yugo pointed. Project Midnight, the same label on the dossier you delivered. It's a front for trafficking payments. Adaora felt a chill. Those passports, they belong to people forced into labor. Muna's fists clenched. This is it. Proof of conspiracy, human trafficking, money laundering. We can arrest him. She looked at Adaora. Are you ready to testify before court? Adaora's voice was firm. Yes, whatever it takes. Yugo exhaled. Relief mingled with anger. And I traced the transactions to a safe deposit box at Zenith Bank. It's registered under Okizi subsidiaries. Muna tapped her phone. I'm sealing that box tomorrow. Detective Muna knocked lightly on Mama D's door the next afternoon. The cleaning woman answered, eyes wary. You wanted to see me? Muna gestured inside. I want to protect you. You helped warn Adaora. Tell me about your daughter. Mama Adi's stoop deepened. She motioned to a faded photograph on a side table. A young woman in a graduation gown, smiling. Her name was Iphioma. She worked here, younger than Adaora. She discovered the same ledger irregularities. She told me, begged me not to go public. Her voice cracked. 2 days later, she disappeared. They said she left town. They never found her body. Muna's eyes softened. I'm so sorry. She placed a folder on the table. I have a fugitive warrant report. I found one witness. He saw Iphioma being dragged into a black SUV. Tears welled in the cleaner's eyes. I thought I could keep silent. She stared at Muna. I want to help now. Muna nodded gratefully. Your testimony can break the defense. You saw her. You warned Adaora. You're a key witness. Mama Adiz drew a ragged breath. For Iphioma. And for Adaora. She lifted her chin. I'll do it. The precinct conference room was colder than Adaora remembered the CEO's office to be. Detective Muna stood before a bank of monitors, her finger hovering over the playback controls. Hugo hovered at her side, laptop open. Adaora sat upright, every muscle taut with anticipation. Here, Muna said, pointing to one camera feed labeled North Balcony, Night of Incident. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. The image was grainy but unmistakable, a dark silhouette advancing toward the railing. Adaora leaned forward. Pause. She pointed. That's him. Chief O'Keezy's broad frame paused at the threshold, then stepped onto the balcony. He scanned left, then right, as though ensuring no witnesses. Adaora's heart pounded. Play. Muna pressed the button. The silhouette lunged. Adaora felt time slow as the figure grabbed her arm, her own arm, before she tumbled over the railing. The camera caught the moment her fingertips slipped from the marble edge. Detective Muna drew in a sharp breath. That's attempted murder. Hugo exhaled. We can't refute this. Adaora's lips trembled. Show them my screams. Show them everything. Muna nodded. We will. She reached out and squeezed Adaora's hand. You did the right thing by staying alive. Back in her hospital room, Adaora stared at the recorder on her bedside table. In its memory lay her raw, unfiltered testimony, words that could send a titan to prison. But her courage wavered. Could she go through with it? Her thoughts spun until a soft knock sounded on the door. Hugo entered, carrying 2 mugs of tea. He set one by her elbow. You look like you're questioning everything. She wrapped both hands around the warm cup. I'm scared. If I testify, O'Keezy's allies will come after me again. There's no guarantee they won't succeed next time. Hugo sat beside her. He tried once and failed. You've got Detective Muna and the evidence. Plus, public opinion is on our side. People hate monsters. He pointed to the TV on a rolling cart. The news anchor reported, outrage grows as exclusive footage of corporate assault emerges. Adaora swallowed. Blackmail him? Offer to sell the footage. Hugo shook his head firmly. No, this isn't about profit, it's about justice. If we trade evidence for money, we lose moral high ground. We risk the story becoming another scandal buried. She looked into his eyes, seeing his unwavering faith. You're right. Justice. Hugo smiled gently. Tell them tomorrow. On the 4th day post-fall, Adaora received a summons to appear at the civil courthouse for an emergency hearing. She arrived in a wheelchair, flanked by Detective Muna and her lawyer. The courtroom buzzed. Reporters, protesters, and O'Keezy's legal team in dark suits. Chief O'Keezy entered last, tall and composed, face impassive. He nodded curtly at Adaora, then took his seat beside his high-powered attorney. Adaora's stomach twisted, but her resolve hardened. When the judge called the case, Chief O'Keezy's attorney rose. Your Honor, our client maintains he did not push Ms. Adaora. Any suggestion otherwise is speculative and inadmissible. Adaora's lawyer countered. Your Honor, we have video evidence of the incident, backed by testimony from a credible detective and digital forensics analysis. We request a temporary restraining order against Chief Okizi to prevent witness tampering. The judge reviewed the evidence packets. Then, from the back of the courtroom, a hush fell as Chief Okizi stood and approached the bench. He leaned toward Adaora, voice low but clear. "Drop this, and I'll make your life comfortable again." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Adaora met his steely gaze. "I'd rather be poor than complicit in covering up a crime." He straightened, expression blank. "Enjoy your 15 minutes of fame." He stalked back to his seat. Adaora exhaled, relief and terror mingling. The judge granted the restraining order. Justice advanced another step. That evening, protesters gathered outside Okizi Tower, chanting, "No more silence! No more lies!" Screens displayed the leaked elevator cam footage of Adaora's fall. The building's lobby was plastered with posters demanding transparency. Inside the CEO's office, Chief Okizi raged. Who authorized that leak? Find them. His lawyers scrambled to contain damage, issuing statements calling the footage unauthorized and potentially doctored. Meanwhile, Adaora watched from her hospital bed as social media exploded. Hugo pointed out tweets with millions of views and reshares. "They believe you," he said, "and they're ready to fight." Detective Muna appeared at the door. "The leak helped our case. But be careful. Someone inside is feeding us info, and that person may soon be in danger." Adaora nodded. "Then we protect them, whoever they are." As midnight struck, an anonymous informant slipped a thick envelope under Adaora's door. Handwritten accounts from former employees, signed with first names only. Beneath her blanket, Adaora clenched her fists. They were winning. The morning sun found Adaora back at the courthouse, this time fully ambulatory, supported by a cane. The atmosphere crackled, cameras flashing as Chief Okizi was escorted in handcuffs by uniformed officers. His face was impassive, but his dark eyes flickered with fury. Detective Muna guided Adaora to the witness stand. The gallery fell silent as her voice rang out. "On the night of August 12th, 11:47 p.m., I was pushed from that balcony." She paused, glancing at the video clips playing on the big screen. "I have nothing to gain. I testify because no one should be above the law." The prosecutor's voice boomed. "Your Honor, we move for charges of attempted murder, human trafficking, and money laundering." He turned toward Okizi. "Do you understand these charges?" Chief Okizi's lawyer sputtered objections, but the judge overruled them. "Mr. Okizi, you are under arrest." The bailiffs stepped forward. As they led him away, the courtroom erupted into applause. Adaora's knees buckled with relief. Hugo caught her, tears in his eyes. Detective Muna smiled, proud. Later, outside, reporters swarmed Adaora, but she turned instead to Hugo and Muna, raising her free hand in triumph. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "We'll make sure every victim gets justice." And with that, the woman who had been thrown from the second floor reclaimed her power, ushering in the downfall of a tyrant. The morning after Chief Okizi's arrest, Adaora awoke to a flurry of urgent messages on her phone. Bodyguards had spotted unmarked vans circling her block, and whispers spread that powerful allies, high-ranking officials, and shadowy financiers were moving to quash the case. Across the nation's capital, backroom meetings convened in smoke-filled rooms, where Okizi's loyalists plotted to undermine the prosecution. At the prosecutor's office, Detective Muna and Adaora met with Attorney General Chekwu. The stern man leaned over the conference table. "They're pulling strings in the judiciary," he warned. "Some judges may be swayed. We need airtight evidence and public pressure." Later that day, as Adaora prepared for a live interview, a well-dressed emissary from the Ministry of Finance arrived bearing a thick dossier. These allegations could destabilize markets, he intoned, sliding the file across the table. Withdraw your testimony, and we can protect your brother's livelihood. Adaora's hands tightened into fists. She glanced at Hugo, standing guard at the door. I'm not afraid, she said, voice steel. They can threaten my family, but they cannot silence the truth. Across town, lobbyists redoubled their efforts, but the tide had begun to turn. Citizen activists organized rallies, and more insiders came forward, emboldened by Adaora's courage. That night, the sound of shattering glass jolted Adaora from a fitful sleep. Hugo was already at her door. It's the front window, he hissed. They rushed downstairs to find their living room in chaos. Drawers overturned, papers torn, the single copy of the broadcast footage nowhere in sight. Adaora's heart pounded. They tried to destroy the evidence, she whispered. Hugo inspected the broken shards. They missed something. He led her to a child's toy chest at the back corner. Amid Lego blocks and plush toys lay a second flash drive taped under the lid. I hid this weeks ago, he said, relief washing over him. Before they could celebrate, the hallway door rattled as heavy footsteps approached. Adaora grabbed her phone and tapped Muna's speed dial. Within minutes, red and blue lights swept through the windows. Detective Muna and uniformed officers stormed in, apprehending 2 masked intruders. In custody, one muttered, We were told to scare her, nothing more. The other remained silent, eyes downcast. Adaora realized the stakes. Her adversary would resort to any violence to protect his empire. Yet each attack only reinforced her resolve. Under bright studio lights the next afternoon, Adaora sat across from a veteran news anchor. The cameras rolled live nationwide. Ms. Adaora, the anchor began, how do you feel about the threats and the evidence you've brought forward? Adaora's voice carried calm authority. I feel fear, but more than that, I feel responsibility. What happened to me could happen to any worker in any corporation, anywhere. Today, I'm not just telling my story. I'm the voice for the hundreds silenced by abuse of power. Behind the scenes, Hugo and Muna watched monitors as viewers flooded social media with hashtag Justice for Adaora. The broadcast included the hidden camera footage and testimony transcripts. By the time the segment ended, public sentiment had shifted irrevocably. Support poured in from every corner, from factory workers to foreign embassies. When the cameras cut, the anchor embraced Adaora. Your bravery will inspire change, she said. Adaora nodded, tears in her eyes. That's the hope. With the nation watching, prosecutors convened a special session to expand charges against Okizi's entire network. One by one, board members, government officials, and shell company directors were served with indictments. Shares in Okizi Corporation plummeted. Banks froze his accounts. In a dramatic midday hearing, Chief Okizi's defense attorney pleaded for leniency, citing unprecedented pressure. The judge, however, delivered a scathing rebuke. Power does not confer impunity. He remanded Okizi's allies to pretrial detention. Meanwhile, workplaces nationwide launched internal audits, inspired by Adaora's case. Human resources hotlines were overwhelmed with calls from employees reporting harassment and corruption. Newspapers hailed it as the day the empire fell. Adaora watched the headlines with Hugo, fists clenched in triumph. 6 months later, a ribbon-cutting ceremony flooded the courtyard of the new Adaora Foundation for Workplace Justice. Survivors of corporate abuse, their families, and dignitaries gathered under a banner proclaiming, No more silence. Adaora, dressed in a simple suit, stepped forward with a pair of golden scissors. Detective Muna stood beside her, and Hugo filmed the event. As the ribbon split, applause erupted. Adaora raised the mic. This foundation is for every voice that was suppressed, for every fall that went unnoticed. We will provide legal support, counseling, and advocacy training. Together, we ensure that no one with power can break you and go unpunished. In the crowd, faces shone with hope. News cameras flashed. Across the nation, online viewers tuned in. Adaora's scars, both physical and emotional, had become emblems of resilience. As she looked around at the people she'd empowered, she realized her true ascent had only begun. And so, from the brink of death, Adaora rose, not as a victim, but as a beacon of justice for all. The end.